Hey, people. If there are any people yet. We are going to work on some Sky Earth. And now I need to actually remember what colors I used, right? Might be helpful. 1 second. Gotta get out the sticky notes. The powerful, powerful sticky notes of memory. Sticky notes of memory +1. Let's see here. Looks like ashen blue and cloudy gray to start. Need to find... I just had my ashen blue out too, and of course, I put it away. This is the problem with training myself to put things away after I use them. Is that then I lose them. There we go. There, and I know I've got my cloudy gray around here. There it is. We are way close. We're going to back out. There we go. That's better. Gives us a broader view of our headless Templar. I decided I really do need to block in some of this today so that I can get her head on there permanently. But I also need to base coat our arm. This is all armor. Which means it's going to be work. Yay, work. I did want to see something. I need to get up my tiny light. Little late today because I had to take my walk and get my exercise in, and had some distracting stuff happen after stream, so I was delayed, not able to take my walk earlier. But it's time to get some serious work on this one today, I think. Do want my gray liner. I always push it to you guys. There it is. There. You know your model's been sitting around for too long when it's actually gathering dust. That's sad. Okay, let's see here. I've got a dark, I've got a mid-tone. I want, I think I want to mix just a bit of brown in. Hey, Cookie, how's it going? Been kind of a rough day for an Anne, but it's getting better. I'm working on it. I was supposed to usually I go live at 2, and then I said 2:30 on stream, and then I started early but late, depending on which time you believed in. It's been just a day. It's been a Thursday. How about that? But that's okay. We're going to get some paint on Ms. Templar. It'll be okay. I am going to mix a little bit of my blue-gray into my liner, I think. I want to soften that liner down a little bit. It's even the liner, which is really translucent when you add water, is still really harsh when you start doing these horizon lines. So it's like, I do like to soften it just a little bit. I'm going to try to figure out what to do with these wing things today and maybe block in some chainmail. And I really feel like I need to deal with the back of the fan thing here because it's where her hair goes. So if I want to attach her head, and I am kind of sick of her head popping off, so if I'm going to attach her head, the red, I need to make sure it's nice solid base coat and put probably a shadow down before, because her hair's so close to it. But I really need to deal with where it crosses here and the back of the collar before I can attach this head, or I'm going to make it so hard to get in here to paint anything. So that's kind of a rough set. Oh man, I didn't even notice that shoulder pad. Yeah, of course the lion's on the other side. So that means I painted this red thing wrong. Don't you hate it when you paint red things wrong? I think originally I wanted some sort of demarcation there, but now I see it's metal. So, it is one of those days. Hey, Cranston, how's it go? Oh, no, Cranston, it's been that day. You've encapsulated my day. You have encapsulated my day so much. All the feels on that critical fail. Oh, dear. Oh, yes, that's the way it's been. So, let's see here. I did want to maybe refine this a little bit. Let me see here. I want to pop that in. All right, so really, this is okay. That needs maybe a little bit. It would reflect her hair, but I think I need a little bit more light down there. So in general, this brown shadow that I put under the hair is pretty much in line with where I want it, but I think I need to blend it in maybe a little bit better. You had a productive day until 10 a.m. Wow, do you get up really early, Kristen? Or do you not get up early? And so that was like, it started going bad right away. I probably should mix up some white too. You know I'm going to want it because I'm tuning NMM. So you know that I'm going to want it. So I may as well just grab it. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of fading in this brown a little bit right here. And I'm going to bring up the bottom here as well. Just a tad. I don't mind having a bit of hair reflection. It would definitely happen, but I think I need more light there. Hey, Crows. Yeah, Crows, this is, I'm doing a PDF. I'm almost completely done with my PDF for this on how I did some of the stuff already and how to think about Sky Earth if you want to start trying to paint it yourself. So today I've got kind of a good block in here. I'm refining this area just a little bit and bringing in this highlight a little bit more. Then I was just saying to Cookie and whoever else was watching that if I want to attach the head permanently, which I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm getting antsy about it, then I really need to block in the shadows back here where the hair falls over the metal so that I know where my shadow is, and then I can just paint the metal around it. Because it's getting frustrating to always have her head popping off. There comes a point where I just really do need to attach the head. And I think I can paint the rest of her hair pretty well with her attached. So you got up at 8:45. Oh, then you didn't really get much time, did you, Cranston? All the feels, man. All the feels. I don't know what it is lately with me. It's like, I have not okay, guys, in all of the time that COVID has been a thing, I have not blamed it for my emotional state or my mental state once, but I think I'm getting there. Like, I feel lately like I'm just really tense. And getting the first vaccine really helped me. Like, I didn't notice how anxious I was about it until I got that vaccine. And so I guess, yay, thanks for the resub, Chibi. I really appreciate it. It helps brighten my day. Little tiny finger hearts for you. Finger hearts and coffee. Where's Crowley? Crowley's not on. No, Crowley, I actually have my skinny vanilla iced latte today. Real caffeine. Yum. They're so good. With coconut milk. Which is even better. I think coconut milk lattes are so good. Maybe it's just that I love coconut. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I started the stream and then I realized I hadn't put any keywords up. And I'm like, curses, so I had to stop it and then start it again right at the beginning. But you haven't really missed much. Except I do really, really, really need to mix some pure white. Because if we're going to do NMM, we need our dark, our mid-tone, and our light. That is our absolute minimum. But yeah, it's kind of been a day, but that's all right. It'll get better. It'll get better, and tomorrow is Friday. David and I are talking, and we're like, we really need a vacation. Like, we really, both of us, because we haven't been able to go anywhere, right? He hasn't taken any of his vacation time. He's just been taking maybe a day here and there. But it's not the same thing, right, as really getting out and just kind of going away, right? Just going away, taking a breather. And I'm usually so happy on stream that when I have grumpy moments, then I know that, like, okay, I need to take a break. Oh, hey! Liquid Nebula with a raid! Awesome. And 8, too. It's an 8-person raid. Hello, Dr. Rhino. Thank you for the follow. So, yeah. So, we're working on some SE-NMMs. It's not as much fun when you throw the SE on the front. So, we're doing some Skywrath NMM. Thank you, Defdon Espier. We are, this is a competition model that I started a while ago. Thank you, Dizzy, for the follow. I'm Anne. I work for Reaper in the mornings, and then sometimes on Thursdays, okay, all the time on Thursdays, I do my own little stream over here. And sometimes we do D&D, and sometimes we do painting. Stormtrooper, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it, guys. Oh, SE-NMM is a pain in the butt, okay? Like, I've done it exactly once before, so this gives you an idea how crazy I decided to get when I looked at this freaking lion and went, that needs to be Skywrath NMM. Yeah, Anne, great idea. So I started this, and then I realized I really needed to do a PDF on it for my Patreon, so I started that, and now that's almost done, so I'll put it up as a special offer next month, my Patreon. If you are interested, if you want to, my Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig. Just like my channel here is Painting Big. And it'll be the $10 tier, but of course if you sub, you also get access to all my other videos and PDFs for $10 tier. And it's over 2 years of content at this point, so if you don't want to and you just want to ask general questions on the chat, I am also just happy to answer them. The PDF's just like really structured. Like I pretty much assume that you're a basicer at like NMM, and I kind of tell you the differences between the two. Like how do you change up the principles of regular NMM when you start doing Skywrath, and go into all that sort of thing, and colors, and how to kind of imagine the environment, all this sort of crap that you have to think about with SE. And then, of course, just the basic, like, all of your placement of highlights and shadows become far more persnickety. Very, very persnickety. And sometimes you're still doing... like, you're still making judgment calls that are kind of stylized rather than realistic, also. And has activated hard mode. Thanks, Alpha. Yeah, it is a competition model. Like, I do want this one to wherever the next competition... I guess the next competition David and I will actually go to seems like it's going to be ReaperCon. As long as everything, like, stays kosher and we're able to go. So she'll be entered at ReaperCon. But she's going to be competition level mini, which means I'm going to go pretty much all out on her and make her as good as I possibly can. And usually these days with competition level stuff, I like to kind of push myself more than I do on regular models. Like, I've been working on this halfling also. We'll get little halfling girl out. I'm hoping really to get to the point where I can attach her head again. Everybody's headless right now. Sorry, guys. This is a recurring theme on Anne's stream. So this is Ms. Halfling. She's a black crow miniature. So she's a 75 millimeter halfling. So she's about 55 millimeters. And hey, Absalon, how's it going? Oh, that's okay, Alpha. I mean, you got life, right? Everybody's got life. Hey, cool. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Alpha okay, so there's different reasons. So for a big bust, if the head comes separate, it's really useful to be able to put it on a smaller block to paint it and not have to worry about holding this big chunk of stuff. Like, the little pin was sunk into a little wooden block, and then some people just put the pin into, like, their pin vise and hold that. But it's much easier for me to paint tiny details if I'm going like this than if I'm trying to hold this big, huge honkin' model and trying to get close and trying to find a comfortable place to rest my hand and all the rest of it. So that's why her head was off until, like, now I feel like I've got enough work done on the head that the hard parts are over. And I've gotten in her tiny ribbons. I just have to add color. Her hair is looking good. I just need to add more highlights. But a lot of the persnickety work is complete. And so So because of that, now I feel like I can put the head on. The other thing is that her hair, as you notice, goes over the front of the medal. And it also goes over the back of the medal. So on the front here, that's why I've got this shadow line going down here, because of the hair. And so in order to paint underneath, anything underneath it, I need to hold off attaching stuff. And sometimes it's like, some artists don't really care about that. Like some modelists will just throw everything together and they'll just leave a really black primer shadow or whatever underneath there. I kind of tend to like to, if you can see it at all, I kind of like to do something with it. So that's another reason I left the head off, is also because I wanted to kind of block in. So I'll start blocking in shadows now back here underneath this stuff so I can put the head on. So it's both that it's easier to work on the fine details of the face and that parts of the head overhung other parts of the model. So I do have some busts that I've worked on that where the head is not an issue like that, and so I just put it on because it's not blocking really anything else. With the halfling, the reason she's headless, and I actually glued her together and then I broke her off again. She's headless both because I wanted to get like some of this area painted up here with texture, and with the head on it was really hard. It's much easier to add like the texture of the cloth to the shirt if I can go at it from this direction. So I wanted to be able to hit those spots and be able to kind of see that I wasn't missing anything. The other reason is because the cape goes down behind her, I wanted to be able to reach this stuff. If I put because her head is part of the cape, the minute I put that on, I make it really hard to paint anything else. And some of this stuff, like the scabbards, you definitely can see, even with the cape on. So essentially, leaving the cape off lets me easily paint all the stuff that I would find it hard to do otherwise. Because even though this is in shadow, you still don't want to look up there and see absolutely no details. So instead, I've just kept this area where the cape goes over very, darker than the rest of it. I'll be bringing up highlights down here. I haven't quite finished this area yet. And I won't do quite as much weathering on the leather as I did like on the front where you can really see the nicks and scrapes and stuff. So with me, whenever you see me not attach a piece, it means that if I did attach that piece, it would make it a lot harder to paint. So yeah, so that's the entirety there. Now I'm almost to the point. What I want to do next though is I really need to tackle the interior of the cape here and do some gentle like highlighting on this underside and decide if I'm going to put any sort of ornamentation on the inside of the cape. I'm leaning toward not because I have freehand on the outside. And usually if you're going to get decoration on a cape, it's going to be on the outside, maybe a simple band though on the inside. I've been kind of going back and forth over it and trying to decide how it looks best. So like, cause it definitely flies out behind her. So I want to put a little bit of highlight, but it's also just, she blocks most of it. The other reason not to put any freehand or detail on the inside of a cape is that it distracts from the model. So like right now, there's nothing on the cape except dark, and you don't mind it because it's like she's got enough to look at. So I think I want to do some minor highlighting so that you can see that there is detail down there, but I don't think I want to do any freehand. Persnickety Painting, Pendrake. Yeah, that is a great name for a streamer. Why hasn't somebody taken that? So yeah, Alpha, does that make sense? Oh, sure. Dragon White. Okay, that's the bones white. All right. What's the problem? Let me know, because it is just after winter, so it is always possible if it's acting really weird, it could be frozen. But yeah, tell me what your problem is. I will do my best to troubleshoot for you while I am trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Yay, but Glittered Geek, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. You're improving my day. Thank you. It's been kind of a day, so I really, really appreciate it. More than I can say, you guys. More caffeine. Need more artificial mood enhancer. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Cool Pack, but then I always ask myself, like, again, it's like, compositionally, do I need something there, right? Because there's like, Thank you for the sub. Cool Pack, you're such a sweetheart. Thank you. I'm glad I was just about to talk about your suggestion then. So, yes, you could do that. You could put a couple of like little insignias at the bottom, maybe even runes, like to suggest that the cloak has magical properties, but they're kind of hidden. But again, like ask yourself compositionally, is it going to add to the story? Like, because there are definitely areas where you could put a cool Easter egg effect in, right? Like a little detail that somebody might not notice, and that can be very cool on a model, especially a larger one. I really like that effect where like you start out looking at the model and you think it's cool, and then you get closer and closer and it looks cooler and cooler and you see little details you didn't notice right away. So that would be one reason to do it. But I need to question, like, is it going to be distracting? Like, because, you know, I really want the emphasis to really be on her and how kind of murderous she's looking and how beat up she is. I don't know if I want to distract from that, especially not, you know, with the freehand that I'm already going to be doing. So that's a big question mark for me. I keep going back and forth, but I really can't attach her until I make that decision. Because once I attach her, painting the inside of this cloak is going to be murder. Just bad. Just not fun at all. So much easier to paint it this way, right? And it's so much easier to paint the outside if you can just hold it like that and not have to hold the model. So, yeah. Okay, now let's get back to the Dragon White. Oh, you're bad, Patros. You're bad. Let's see here. Okay. You're overthinking, separating like crazy, even 1-to-1. Yeah, I think Frozen Alpha. I think they're right. So what happens when paint freezes, I talked about this a little bit on my Reaper stream the other day, is that the paint itself, like the particles that make up the paint, don't actually freeze. But the water in the paint freezes. And as it freezes, it forces all those resins. Hey, Red Links, thanks you for the subscription. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you. Oh, it was a gift. It was a gift from Astro Squee. Well, then thank you both. Awesome, you guys. Yeah, and you're keeping me going here. Yeah, but Alpha, like, I'm not sure where you ordered it from. Because the thing is, when it's shipped, it can freeze in transit. So, unless you ordered it in, like, the summertime from Reaper. Or the spring or fall, right? As long as you didn't, like... But if you got it from a store, you don't know how it goes. Because it sounds like freezing to me. When the paint separates and it just won't go back into solution, or it goes back in for like 2 seconds and then it drops again, you've had it for like a year. And was it okay before? Because that's really weird if it was okay before. Yeah, Happy Feels totally helped me. Yeah, it does. Thank you. I really appreciate the Happy Feels. Lovely Before only started happening yesterday. That's really odd. Like, that's really weird. I don't know, Alpha. I've never ever heard of that before. Like, that's so odd. Like, because how old is it? Is my next question. Because if it's been in a stable environment and it's been good up to now, the only thing I can think about is maybe that it's aged out, but that I know what base that's in and it shouldn't have. No, if they're shaking it for a long time and it's falling out of solution at 1-to-1, like any of our whites should never fall out of solution at 1-to-1. No paint should really fall out of solution at 1-to-1 for Reaper, for Master Series. That's crazy talk. So I guess, if you look at it, Alpha, actually, here, I'm gonna give you guys a clue. Don't tell anybody, okay? Shh. We have an age code on our bottles. So, look at your bottle, look above the Texas, and tell me what that number is. Like, on your bottle of Dragon White. Yeah, secret info. That's an age code, guys. That's how we tell how old a bottle is and what batch it's part of. So now you know. You'll be astonished at how old some of your paints are. And it only applies to, like, later batches, because there was a point that we didn't have the date info on there yet. But yeah. Actually, Pendrake, I cannot confirm or deny. Like, I've already given you a clue, but it's not, like, I can't. It doesn't want me to tell it. It's secret. It doesn't want me to tell you this. But anyway, okay, so 25C20. Okay, so it's fresh. I will tell you that the 20 does mean 2020, Pendrake. I'll do that. And the 19 means 2019. Sorry. Now they'll be watching all of it. I know. And you know what? Maybe he doesn't care. Right? But at the same time, I haven't asked him if I could tell you about the date codes. So I'm like, I always have to be so careful. I feel like I always have to be so careful. It's such a tension thing with me, honestly. It's that part of you that doesn't want to get into trouble because you know that you're really, like, you know, you love your work and you don't want to, like, get in trouble at it. And so, like, when my mouth goes and I'm like, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. I freak out. So sorry about the freak out. But that's new. Oh, Cookie, thanks. Thank you so much for the bits. I really appreciate it. No, you're fine, Pendrake. You're fine. Like, really you are. It's just, it's my, oh my god, Ed's gonna, like, yell at me. It's that fear. It's totally that fear. Yeah, exactly. The last number is the year. The last two numbers are the date. And so that means that the bottle hasn't aged out and it's probably had a chemical reaction, but that's so odd. Like personally, honestly, having dealt with these bottles for almost 20 years, I don't know what would cause that. Have you popped it open and stirred it with a toothpick at all? Or a some sort of pokey unit? Toothpick. Anything really that you have. Butt of your brush. Like, just to see if there's, like, if it's, like, because the only other thing I can think of is maybe if it's settled out a bit toward the bottom and it's, like, maybe, but you shook it so long, so I can't think that that's the problem. Like, honestly, if it's... Now we're totally using, like, science. Like, yes, heating it up slightly, although I don't know if I'd use a microwave. I'd probably boil some water and stick it in there, although that might be bad for the label. Oops. Yeah, it's Crows and Bones. It's very, like, it's unknown for that to happen to a Master Series paint unless it's been frozen. Like the settling out you're talking about, the turning into the latex plug, that happens. But it would happen if you left the paint in one place for 10 years. And he hasn't done that. Yeah, I guess you could try the agitator. I mean, it does go at a higher velocity. It isn't enough usually to put things back in solution if resins have fallen out, but... Get aggressive with it. I mean... Yeah, but that's very confusing to me. Yeah, Alpha. I'm really sorry. But, yeah, you've baffled me. You've actually baffled me. Like, you might even want to, like, contact Reaper customer service? I mean, yeah, I mean, or, you know what, Alpha? Like, contact customer service, because it's really weird. And, you can even tell them, hey, you know, I brought this problem to Anne and she couldn't troubleshoot it for me. And she said, contact you for a new bottle. And if you want a free bottle of paint, customer service will probably be okay with it. Mention that it's had a bad reaction and you're not sure what happened, but it was fine when you got it and then it promptly went bad. And it wasn't frozen or anything, so you're not sure. But Anne said there seems to be some sort of issue with it because it separates. Yeah. Tell them Anne said WTF. And WTF, please give this guy a new bottle. Although, you know what? Go for pure white. Switch it up. If you're going to go for white, go for the king of white. I don't know. Like, this is one of those things where, honestly, if I was still at Reaper, I would walk into Katie's office and say, this guy's going to be contacting you and it's going to sound weird or bogus, but it's not. Seriously, just replace his paint for him. Pure white is the best. Oh, it was really fresh, Absalon. It was just 2020. So, yeah, it shouldn't be doing that. Like, it's, like I said, I really, really believe in these bases. Like, you know, I researched these suckers and I've used them for so long. There's no way that it should settle out like that. All right, well, let's actually put some paint on the model. How about that, guys? I'm gonna have to think pretty hard about how to do these little feathery things, though. I don't know if I'm up to doing the feathery things today. It might be traumatic. So instead, let's do something else. Let's talk about kind of half-assing this wing thing. All right, so maybe not half-ass. Ooh, I need my light. That's right. I need to show you guys the light. Where's the light? We need to see the light. We need our tiny pen light today. Yeah, I'm baffled, Alpha. I don't know what the heck happened to that sucker, and I would ask Reaper for a new one and tell them to, check with me if they have any questions, but tell them you ran it by me, and I said it sounded like a chemistry problem, but there seems to be no, like, discernible cause, and maybe they should check the batch. But yeah, it's, if we get any other complaints about it, then I'm gonna... they're coming off of the metal here, so I was gonna paint them like they were metal Pendrake. So then it's like, some of them are kind of facing the sky, but what level are they at? I think I'm just gonna I think I'm gonna be mucking around with them, because doing Sky Earth, the smaller you get, the smaller surface you try to do Sky Earth NMM on, oh yay, we had a hype train. Sweet, you guys are all so sweet. We got a hype swipe. Let's do it. Hype swipe. Yay! But yeah, so like the smaller the surface, the more of a pain in the butt it is to do Sky Earth. Big surfaces are much better. Okay, so let's get our happy little lamp here. I wanted to check and see where our light is falling on this wing thing. So if I move it and I get it real close, because sometimes you gotta get it real close. And most of it, okay, there. So I'm seeing some hard shadows under each feather, and I'm seeing a shadow like right here where it comes out from the body. And that's probably and a dark shadow on the bottom. So that's probably where I'm going to have to go. All right. Sometimes when you're doing Sky Earth, you really got to check it. And kind of like, sometimes you look at an area and you're just like, oh, WTF, what am I going to do there? Like, how the heck do I paint this? Now, if we look at it, I shouldn't be surprised that that's what happened, because if I hold it up, you can see that it's tilted toward the sky, right? Like, look at the tilt. If straight up is this, it's actually tilted out. So that's probably still hitting sky. Yes, lots of choo-choos. Yay. So what I noticed then is that this is where the shadow is falling. Down here, because that's where it starts to curve over and under, where this is facing up. You see how this kind of turns inward, so that's where the shadow is falling there. So I always like to start any NMM after I've got my base down. I like to start it with figuring out where my shadow is, and then I want to probably do some lining, because if you recall, we had definitely a hard shadow under each one of these plates. And it's important to say, too, that I don't always start, even though Sky Earth involves adding color to your shadows. Like, we've got my green trees here that I'm going to work with a little bit later, and I've got greens, those same greens added into the shadow color on the kitty head, and the same greens and some browns added in up here, brown for her hair and greens for the outside area. So... but I don't always start with that. Like, often I'll start with just a grayscale, and then I will glaze in more color, because I like to set up the effect and make sure that I've got the effect right first before I start throwing colors into it. Because it's, even with me, and I've been doing NMM for years, if not Sky Earth, but regular NMM for years, and I still will make mistakes every once in a while when I'm doing a complicated surface, especially. That's got an unusual effect. That's a good idea, Pendrake. I'll think about that one, because I know I want this light kind of creamy leather for the interior bodysuit, but other than that, I haven't done much. I could make them red. I'm gonna have to repaint this shoulder pad, because it's not meant to be. It's probably meant to be metal. I painted it red before, but I'm going to have to repaint it. Decided. So I'm mostly using gray liner here. I did add a little bit of brown liner to it just to make it not like a flat gray. So we've got that lining in there because we do want the shadow under there. But a lot of this faces the sky at least a little bit. So it's probably going to be... It's going to be kind of a combo between the blue, the actual sky color, and the fade that the blue goes into. When you're looking at this stuff, look at the planes. Like, look at what is being reflected. Kind of put something perpendicularly on it and point. Use your brush to like, okay, this is exactly 90-degree angle from the angle that this is up. Where does it point? It points upward. That's why it gets the sky reflection. I am choosing to believe, cool, that that this is magical armor. And magic can make things lightweight. It's some lightweight, you know, magical aluminum, super hard aluminum. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Dogfather, how's it going? Oh, all right. So now I need to get some more blue. Where's my cyan blue? Because that's what we're using. There it is. Yay, cyan. So it's cyan and it's mixed with a lot of gray, remember? Because you got and gray and white. Because although the cyan is a beautiful color and it's moving in the right direction, it is way too bright to actually be the sky, and would look weird if we just did this. This is not sky color. That is sky color. So we're back to like realism. That, and since she's in pretty muted colors. Alright, so 1 drop of cyan goes a long way. Get our cyan. There it is. Bright, bright, bright. I'm going to add 1 drop of pure white and 2 drops of cloudy gray and see what I got. Oh, sorry, I lied. 2 drops of pure white, and I decided on a brush full of my base coat instead. Yeah, we do need more white. I was right. That's probably... Yeah, I need a little lighter. Little lighter. Yeah, I'm with you. It looks like it would be very heavy. So either she's got an 18 strength, unlikely, and she's an elf. Or, unless you're in a world where elves are totally beefy, which is totally possible. It's just not something I've done. Technically, I guess an elf can still have an 18 strength. Was it in the old, was it in basic D&D where they got -1 to strength, or do they still? I don't remember. Alright, that's a good sky blue. So it's pale, and it's a little muted out. It probably, that's about right. Yeah, it's the same. It's about the right color. Looking at the blue that I've got here and there, that's close enough. Thank you, Dogfather. So, keeping in mind the angle there, and also that's reflected in the angle right here as well, right? So, when we're working with these, we're trying to transition. We're showing that fade. And we want to also remember that only the areas that are really facing upward are going to get that blue. If it's tilted outward, that's where the blue stops. So on some of these feathers, I want to actually limit how much blue I've got and go more toward white. Maybe keep a little bit of blue, but not as much as I had originally. So like I did with those two. And I'm gonna have to bring all of this white up a bit, since this is just blocked in still. But let's show this on here. So we'll start by blocking in some of this. Now this is also an area that we're gonna have to go a little bit stylistic on. Oh, and that feather really down there, it had a lot of shadow, and that also is probably facing outward. So I think I'm gonna actually grab my gray and block out that blue that we're... Yeah, my PDF on how to do this is almost done, Dogfather. I need to do just a couple more examples. I need to do a couple more photographed examples. So tonight, probably, I'll sit down and put some time in on her. Doing kind of a step-by-step, maybe on the arm here. I actually did want to check the angle on this. So her arm goes up like this. She's really cool. She's kind of resting her sword, like on her shoulder a little bit. So I did want to check. Yeah, the elbow still sticks out, so this is all going to be metal. So I was going to choose this pauldron area to do a quick demo on for the PDF. So actually, since I've got my base color, I'm going to just base coat this now. And then I will do magic, and then I will take pictures of it doing magic, and then it will be an awesome PDF. And if you're already a patron, then you get it automatically. It's just free content for you. It'll come out at the beginning of May. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, and the nice thing about it is hopefully it'll help you whether you're, you know, even if you're not that good at NMM, regular NMM yet, it also has tips for that. Like, because I start out talking about, yeah, that will do that. I start out talking about regular NMM and kind of how the basic way I break it down. And then I go and say, okay, so now how is Sky Earth different? Because you need to understand regular NMM in order to get much out of Sky Earth or a discussion of Sky Earth. So I didn't want to like hang people out to dry if they were still struggling with basic NMM. I wanted to actually take time to reiterate it, especially because I don't know. I've done a PDF on NMM before on a 28mm model, but it never hurts to have it in a couple of different places, right? So we'll just do a basic base coat here. I think this rounded pauldron rounded arm guard is a really good area to do this on. There we go. This armor is beautiful though, isn't it? It's just a lovely sculpt. And it's going to be a very fun project. Like, I do really have to work on it in little sections because I will get completely, just overwhelmed from time to time on the vast amount of metal there is on this model. But, overall... And you'll notice this is a pretty thin base coat because I'm working on a large model and I want the base coat to be smooth. So I'll often thin it more to the point where it's almost a wash, a heavy wash, because I want it to self-level and be really smooth. I don't really mind if I have to put a second coat on it. I'm okay with that. But more than anything, when working with a beautiful bust like this, I want a smooth base coat. So if that means 3 layers of thin down paint, that means 3 layers of thin down paint, and I am okay with that. I will say that I'm a little afraid that like Bryce is still like learning things from my streams because that man is very knowledgeable about painting. So either he's trying to butter me up or I just do some things like totally different than him. And we'll get this little feathery thing over here. It's so pretty. It's just such pretty armor. Like, I need to look up who sculpted this and make them my new favorite sculptor and look at for all the other busts that they've ever sculpted. Elves +1 dex -1 con, 2nd edition. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's gnomes that have minus strength. You terrible at NMM? It's really, I keep saying it's a conceptual technique, and it is, like Dogfather. And it took me a long time to understand it, too. Like, I had to stare at an awful lot of metal things and try to figure out what I was seeing and why. And so don't feel bad if you're not good at it. It takes time. It took me quite a bit of time to really understand it better. Like, I was great at color, but sucked at NMM for quite a while. So don't worry. If you wanna understand it, just keep trying here and there. Just give it another try. Look at people do it. Ask them, get tutorials, watch YouTube videos. There's so much out there now to help you. And sometimes it's just like, you just look at it enough, and one day you look at it, and suddenly you're like, oh, oh, that's what they're talking about. And then you can kind of like, use that and build on it. It really was like little things like that just kind of built up in my brain until I could like break down, okay, this is a pattern I'm seeing. I can use that pattern and I can create a metal looking effect. The thing with NMM is that you're trying to create an illusion. So what you first have to do is you have to break down, what exactly am I trying to duplicate? What effect am I trying to create the illusion of? Then you have to look at, okay, how do I do that? And that's where you can start really breaking it down. It's still difficult to like know how to adapt some of that onto various surfaces. Like you have to learn how to do cylinders and rounded objects, and you have to learn how to do, angled and curving things, and, really flat things, all that kind of thing can be difficult. There we go. First smooth coat. Halflings get -1 strength. Okay. So my elf doesn't have to worry. She could have an 18. She could have an 18 strength. But my halfling rogue, no. She depends on her ridiculous dexterity to murderify people. There we go. And over the black primer, you can, see that it's you can still see some of the primer. But that's not a big deal. What's the important thing is this is drying like really nice and smooth. No globbiness. Sure, it's thicker in some places, but that's all right. You just don't want globs. And if I see any area that I think might get globby, I'm just going to kind of feather it in to the surrounding area. Very gently. Technique overload. It's not bad habits, it's just different habits, Dogfather. But yeah, I get you. So really what it sounds like to me is that you need to like totally back out and maybe take a basic NMM class, like fundamentals of NMM. Like break it down. But NMM is about reflection. So you have to like start imagining each plane and what it's actually reflecting. And understanding, like, kind of thinking about each piece of metal as a little tiny mirror that's flashing light. Little bits of mirror that don't point toward your eyes aren't going to be flashing light as brightly as the little parts that are pointing toward your eyes. It's kind of like that. And then, this like I said, there's basics. There's like a couple of fundamental things you have to ask yourself. And it's not easy, right? You can do it without having incredible blending. I mean, for a long time I didn't understand that, and then I saw David drop down awesome dead NMM without like having super smooth blending. But you don't really need like awesome blending. The better your blending is, the better you can pull off some stuff. Get stuck on the understanding of what was done wrong. That's a challenge for all of us. Like, even me at this point. When I was working on her collar, I was like, this doesn't look right. Okay, why doesn't it look right? Danged if I know. Let's putz around with it. And that is one of the steps toward learning something, right? Toward being an effective learner is trying to break it down and see. But I do think that we jump into things sometimes without like understanding a lot of it. Like if you don't know why your highlight in NMM goes where it does, you won't be able to troubleshoot. And if you don't know why the shadow in your NMM is placed where it is, you won't be able to troubleshoot that either. So it's like, I find that there are definitely some fundamental elements to NMM that you do need to like get your brain wrapped around. And once you have those, it becomes much easier to troubleshoot NMM. Like, okay, let's take our wing. So I'm looking at angles on the wing. I'm looking at where the facing is on the wing. When I get down to about, if I look at it helps if I look at the other planes here. So I've got a plane that's kind of at a diagonal like this. And it's definitely getting some light. See that white right there? And if I go to that plane here, it starts to turn pale. So what that says to me is a lot of this is going to be white. But none of it is really, if I'm standing here, straight up from the figure, none of it is really going to be like getting me in the eyes until I get to like here. So it's like I have to like think of each little plane and okay, is it like reflecting the sky? Is it reflecting light at me? Is it reflecting the tree line? What is it reflecting? Yeah, makes your brain melt. Yep. Yeah, so then that's easy, Dogfather. Not easy, but simple. So now you know what you have to work on. Ignore the shadows first, I would say. And just concentrate on understanding the highlight. And of course it doesn't help also, guys, that when you're trying to understand this stuff, like you are going kind of from nature, right? You are kind of trying to figure out how something would naturally act. But then you run into artists who tweak those things, right? We cheat. We don't actually, here in this area on the neck, I'm not actually doing it very realistically. I'm doing it more toward, like, to make it look good. So, I'm not helping you when I do that. If you're trying to look at my model as an example, it can be very confusing. Well, and this is also Sky Earth, so this is not the best example for regular NMM. Do I have a really good example? Right now I don't. We're not working on anything that's really heavy metal. I wish I still had my, that night that I did for Jim. I don't think I've got, no, not really. Not really anything, like, handy that I could, well, I guess, actually, Alethea does. She does. You really relate to my painting style? Thank you. So, okay. Light and viewing angle. So regular 28mm NMM. Has a little bit of blue in the highlights, but still is pretty standard and isn't very realistic. But it is enough to create the realistic effect, right? So your highlights are going to be on upper edges, right? But like on rounded surfaces, they're also going to be on the part of the armor that's facing you, the viewer. So like you have to put yourself out here, like at the end of this brush, and you're looking at the model and you're like, okay, if the sun is shining down, this breastplate becomes a mirror. And at some point, it's going to kind of flash you in the eyes, right? Like the light's going to reflect off it, like when you're in a car. And like the light hits perfectly on another car and it flashes you in the eyes. And that's what your brightest highlight is. It's the highlight that hits the edge, like right before it curves under. Because if you've got a viewer that's standing right out here, there, we'll go there. Right out here, the light is falling down here. The light's going to bounce out to that viewer here. Then, once it starts to curve down, the light's going to be traveling here. Your light is always traveling and bouncing off the surface in accordance with the plane of it. So this is like a curved mirror. It's like a funhouse mirror. So that's why we've got a bright light here, because a viewer standing here, that's where the highlight goes. And this part, this shadow part, is just like a shadow you do regularly on any figure. It's right under the highlight where the breastplate curves away. So the basic of it is like that. Everything else here is me doctoring the shape of the highlight and the shape of the shadow to the surface. So for long cylindrical surfaces, those are lines, right? And for round surfaces like the breastplate, those are rounded curves. So that's a start. A lot of this is, some of this stuff is fancy and stylized, but the breastplate and the shin guards are pretty straightforward on it. And the smaller the model you try to do NMM on, the simpler you can get away with. Like the simpler you can get away with more simplification, but you also can't do a lot of realism. So All right, so I'm just going to bring in a little bit more shadow in here. There's going to be a little bit of sky reflection down on the bottom, but there's also a point here. The other thing to remember, especially when you're doing stylized NMM, is that metal tends to have kind of like bands of alternating light and darkness moving across it. Actually, do I have... I wonder if I have that picture. I had a great picture from Renaissance Fair. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll try to go. It would be summer of 2019, so hopefully I can find it in my all photos section, because it would be before we all like went into our when I was still able to travel. I've got the art museum. If I can find something in the art museum, I'll grab that too. Sometimes. Oh, well, actually this little plate, this gold plate, is a good example of what I was just talking about. So this is in a museum. It's got an overhead light source, and I'm standing out there looking at it. I always take pictures of stuff like this in art museums because I love to have patterns that I can refer to. So I believe this is Indian. So the things I was just talking about, as this light tilts, that's where the light bounces toward my eyes. That's what you're seeing here. You're seeing the same thing out here on this little edge, because when that edge cuts away, drops away, that's where the light is being reflected toward my eyes. Same with this edge. Same with down here and here. But here, this is a perpendicular surface, and although it's facing slightly outward, it's in shadow, right? The light is falling down, so it misses this part exactly, and it misses this part entirely. There's some reflected light, which is why we can still see the design. But notice what we've got here. What have we got? Highlight and shadow. It's a sharp edge, so the highlight goes pretty much right up to the edge. This is a hammered edge, so it's got a little bit of imperfection, but the light goes up to the edge, and then right below that is a shadow, and then the light starts to build up again, right? Because it starts to curve out and catch the light down here. So to figure out NMM and to be able to troubleshoot NMM, you got to think about the angle of the plane, where the light is coming from, and where the light isn't hitting the object, right? Let me see if I can find my swords that I was originally looking for. I save stuff that's got all sorts of different angles. The duller the metal, or the more aged the metal, the less you will get that bright white spot highlight, and the more you will get a diffused highlight. See how this highlight and this highlight, this is all very diffused. When the light is here, it's kind of blending out. It's blending out. It's blending into shadow. It's not giving us that extreme light and shadow. Instead, we've got zones of light and shadow, right? Didn't mean to go back and look at all my art museum saves, but hey, if it helps you guys. Let me see what I can find. Well, there's my knight that I did for Dark Sword. This is actually one that I wished I had for this. I'm using this as an example in the PDF. This is a knight I did for Dark Sword. This is all NMM. Once again, you've got light, you've got shadow. All of this, you've got light, and right where it drops off, where the arm is turned under, you have shadow. Some of NMM is standard, is not, hold on, I'm back in art museum photo land, and that can be good. Some of NMM is very, very commonsensical, though. There we go. Ooh, all right. Now we're in it. Metal, actual metal. Now, the only weirdness about this particular metal, though, is that we're inside of a booth, so it does have a ceiling above it, but there's light. You can see the outside is all around outside. So that means that the light source is actually coming in this way, and a little bit from above. Like, you can see this shield. It is pointed a little bit downward, but we are getting enough skylight from this direction, or the direction behind the shield is coming in kind of from above, a little bit from above, to get the light here. But again, this is what's looking at me, but what is this facing? This little bubble. It's facing the ceiling, right? And then look at this. This is facing the green trees outside, so you see some of the green in it. Then you get down to another surface that's facing my eyes directly. So you get that light again, even though it's in the middle of the trees. And technically there's not a spotlight out there that's shining, you know, from the tree level, but the light is reflecting toward my eyes because that's the level that it does that at. You can see a little bit. I love these pictures because the green of the trees outside, you can see it reflected just in touches, but how much of it you can see and how photographic it is, like how much detail you can make out, depends on the shininess of the surface. So like you can see some of that green coming in from outside there, for example. But you can see the bands of light and dark, right? Light and then a little bit darker, and you've got a little bit darker, and you've got light here, but then you've got dark and you've got light. And when you see NMM done that way, with the bands of light and dark, you'll usually see it on swords and other things that are long. What that is what the painter is trying to represent. The painter is trying to represent that there are things in the environment around the metal object that are disrupting the reflection in the metal object. So it's not just a shield that's just, you know, perfectly reflecting the light and there's nothing around it. They're breaking that up to give you the impression that there are things around the model that you just can't see. So let's see here. I've got a lot of these. This is a great example too. Goes from light to dark to light to dark, or to start to go to dark. It's starting to go to dark. And you can see kind of the inversion of the blade. So notice that where the top of the blade is reflecting the light right here, it's very bright. Right under it though, there's shadow. Look at it close. This is what you see done painted on NMM blades, right? You've got a highlight, right under it you've got a shadow, and then you've got a little bit of it coming back up toward the bottom. You've got shadows on either side. But in general, you've got a light edge and a shadow side. And sometimes they kind of invert, but here's a great example of like, I do this all the time, is light, and then there's shadow, and then it comes back up because down at the bottom, you're going to get some reflected light from the environment, and you can see some green and brown down here. So go to the Renaissance Fair, now that we're about to be, like, you know, able to go to Renaissance fairs again. And by golly, take pictures, people, because, yeah, you're right. It is stretch time, Cranston. I'll do that. Hold on. But yeah, I did a lot of pictures of these swords because it was really valuable, just future, because they all had different, like the pommels all have a different finish. Some have different, you know, different patterns. So getting some nice references like this, especially on because the hilts and everything tend to be much more shiny. Like, they'll often gloss them up, so you can see more detail even. You get that little bit of green at the bottom of this one, which is really funny. And you can see how when it's a really shiny surface, the highlights are very small, and they're, like, super, like, sharp. And then you don't get a lot else, right? If you've got a bright light shining into a darker area, right? So best thing I can do is go out and look at metal objects in the environment and see what you can do. These are very brushed steel. They're probably more historical accurate. Weapons were not mirror shiny back in the day. So a more of a dull finish is more realistic. So yeah. Oh, if you've got swords, I mean, I only have one sword. It's my Tai Chi sword. But I did take that out the other day to show David, and we took it outside and, like, looked at the way the light reflected on it, because it's like, this is a sword and it looks realistic for the period. It's not a super shiny surface. It's brushed steel. So, you know, because it's the surface you get on carbon steel, which is not stainless steel, right? So I just love these pictures because you can see the green reflections, and you can see the light, and you can see some of the, like, wood colors reflecting in the blades, and how much you get, right? More axes. I love the axes here. Axes are so hard to do NMM on. This one especially is beautiful. But you can see how there's, like, kind of waves of bands of light almost radiating out, because all of those things that were causing the shadows on the swords that were out are still here, and they're just making more vertical bands. So yeah, getting a little closer to this particular axe, which shows, you know, light reflecting from the environment. It gets very dark where it's in shadow. So all really good references. This also shows you how cylinders are highlighted. Remember I said the cylinders on the front of her leg, you're going to highlight them more or less linearly, right? If you look down, you got that one broad highlight. And so that's what we're doing here, is this also is a cylinder. It also has a broad highlight. The reason that her cylinders get wider at the bottom is that her legs are leaning forward instead of straight up and down like that X on the wall. So look at stuff, take notes, take pictures, even if people look at you funny. There we go. I think that's about all I've got there. I also, the other thing I do at Renaissance fairs is save brocades. Like, I take pictures of brocades so that I can maybe use them on future models. Oh, this is a nice one. Border. You couldn't get this elaborate on a 28, but you could get close to it on a bust. Buy swords. Got it. Yeah. Okay, stretch time. Hopefully that little trip down photography lane helped you guys a little bit. But it really is. It's thinking about where is the light reflecting toward my eyes? Where is the shadow? Like, where does the surface drop off away from the light? So all those things. And that's why it's such a complicated subject, right? Because there's so much in it. And I mean, a lot of it is science. Here, we'll set Templar up in front of you guys so you can look at pretty things while I do a quick stretch. Hey there, Cookie. Did you just come in, Cookie? You were here at the start, and then you good. Well, hopefully my PDF will help you even more. Big stretch. Oh boy. But yeah, I guess we didn't get much painting done today, but that's all right. At least I got some base coat onto my arm. The arm of the model, so that I can do the little step-by-step that I wanted to do. And then I could go back to just painting the model to paint the model. And not have to worry about having to do the thingy. That is Piastro. Hey, welcome! Sorry, it's stretch break time, so I'm doing my stretches. I'm going to get down the floor and just do a couple more, but welcome, Piastro. We're doing... We're talking about non-metallic metal today. I just showed people a bunch of photos of just kind of examples to help them how they think about it. Because a lot of people have trouble with NMM. And then the Sky Earth is even harder. Just because you have to be even better about your placements. Do a big stretch and then we'll be good. Alrighty. Oof. Oofty oof. There. I can take my little bit of my light and put it back probably. The little mini sun that Reaper gave us for ReaperCon. Yeah, it's really early. It's back in the early 2019 for the one that I did in that Dark Sword Warrior. Actually, if you search by Dark Sword, you may find it easier to find, or you can search by Dark Sword and NMM, and both tags should show up. Dogfather, I'm really good about tagging stuff on the Patreon, so it makes you guys easier to find it. Kaz, thank you so much. It's resub day. I so appreciate it. I can't even say how much I appreciate it, you guys. Seriously. Oh. So I'm stretching. Kettlebells, man, those are hardcore. Like, I don't think my back is strong enough for those yet. Like, I need to work it a little more. I feel like my balance isn't great either, so I'd probably end up on my butt. If I tried to, like, do those kettlebell swings where they swing it out in front. Oh, Lord. I'll stick to my yoga for now, which reminds me, I need to get David to do yoga with me tonight. We forgot last night, and we haven't been doing it on the weekend, so I told him he can't wiggle out of it all the time. We're going to have one day a week we do it. It'll probably end up being Thursday, because I'll forget Wednesday, and then I'll go, darn it, I forgot yoga, and remember it on Thursday. Alrighty. So, having said all of that... Yeah, see, and I don't have a coach right now. I'm not a member of a gym. So I would for sure need to be taught correctly, because I I feel a little nervous about doing kettlebells without having been taught correctly. I do strive for proper form in my yoga, so I totally get how important it is to do, especially with exercises where you're doing that, where you're swinging weight around. I think it's important to know proper form. Like, I was doing downward dog so wrong. I still have to, like, correct my form. So I'm gonna fade in some of this blue with some of my gray. But you see what's happening is where the blue is, we're definitely picking up sky, right? Like, it's definitely telling us, the visual information I'm giving you says this wing is pointed at the sky because it's showing the blue, right? So when you're doing Sky Earth, you're giving information, right? Actually, whenever you're painting NMM, you are, but with Sky Earth even more so, because the color you're using is giving information in addition to, like, showing light and shadow. So, oh yeah, if you were a certified trainer, that's impressive. Yeah, not me. I'm a noob. I want some of my green though, because this lower feather here is really facing out. I feel like it might need a little bit. Maybe it just needs to come up more horizon-y. I need to figure out if I need to compare it to this. And it's nice because they're next to each other, so I can kind of see where the surface comes down. And I feel like this is actually a little low. You can use, I shined a light on this to figure out my horizon line placement, but sometimes it's a little bit low. I feel like that's a little bit better. That's why I think the trees help over here. But yeah, so because I haven't done this on anything near this complicated, this is definitely an opportunity for me to, I am going to be adjusting a lot as I go, correcting a lot as I go. So we're going to go, probably, I'm going to try something. So I'm going to go and try to do this. So I think that this area corresponds to this area. So, and that actually is looking pretty good. Just sketching in that white highlight looks pretty good. I think I might want to introduce a bit of a shadow here. Maybe just a minor one though. Like, I want my darkest shadow to be coming down here for sure. So this is where you start, like, going, okay, so I think this is where I need more of a highlight, but I also want to break it up a little bit. Like, there's reflections, there's stuff all around her. So I may want to introduce just a little bit of a darker shadow in here. And I want to maybe extend it a little bit here. And this is just, like, honestly futzing. When I'm in a place where I'm working on part of the model where I'm like, I'm really not sure where to go here. Just kind of, like, messing around with it and deciding whether it looks right is a decent strategy. Yeah, isn't it an amazing sculpt? I absolutely love it, Dogfather. This is such a beautiful model. And it wasn't digitally done. Like, this was sculpted by hand, which is, I think, honestly, you can tell from the hair because the hair is so very good. It's so very good. And it's not digital. So, all the more impressive that it's not digital. It's a hand sculpt. Yeah. But I like that with hair especially. I feel like it really does make a difference. Hair, feathers, fur. I do feel like it's very hard to do those things well on digital. Only, like, I think that sculptors are getting better at it, but I don't feel it's quite there yet for me. I don't think it's quite good enough. Not as good as some of the best of the people who can sculpt it by hand. I'm just kind of going back and forth between some blue, some white, some gray. And I'm kind of emphasizing this little bit of a minor shadow that I decided to pop in there just to give it a little bit of variation. And that's where stylistic choice comes in. Where I might decide to put a glimmer of shadow in there to suggest something in the environment that's breaking up the light and the reflection. And I may add color to that. If I decide to, I may add some green color to it to suggest that maybe there's, you know, a tree that's growing tall that's maybe throwing a shadow. And you don't really need to paint the tree. You just need to, like, you need to give the suggestion. Always keep in mind what your surroundings look like. Yeah, like the Sphinx Julie did. Oh, yeah. Yeah, isn't he amazing, Derek? Yeah, he did that particular. There's two versions of this on the box art, and I think I like his best, the one that the sculptor painted. He's an amazing painter and an amazing sculptor, but this is just a fantastic model. Like, it's so, the sensitivity, like all the little tiny feathers and just the beautiful lines of the lion face, and she's got a beautiful face as well. Like, it's really, really good. Yeah, Galapagos has some gorgeous models. I have a couple of their things. I have to not get any more until I paint until I paint some things. I have the box of too much stuff. And the end of this month, my last Kickstarter that I bought into should ship, and then I have resisted the new Chimera and Aradia Kickstarter successfully. I'm not going to buy anything from that one. I decided that not only did I have enough on my plate, but it wasn't must buys. Like, some of the models were really beautiful and they almost were there for me, but not quite. I know I could give in yet, but I think no. I think I'm good. Yeah, truly a master for sure. Yeah, this is just a beautiful, beautiful piece. Like, I don't even want to know how long it took him to sculpt this. But I totally, if I ever meet this guy in person, I have to tell him I love the way he does hair. It's so good. All right, I wanted to put a little bit of a light in here because just like over here on this side here, see this? There's light bouncing up and it's going to illuminate the bottom of this a little bit. So since it's falling on here and we can see it coming up, then that's why this little reflection has to happen. And likewise, over here, we're going to get reflection and it's going to bounce right onto this collar because it's kind of this wing area is turned inward a little bit. So we're going to get light and it's going to be bouncing. And so I need to portray that. So really with something this complicated, if you're doing NMM on something this complicated, I mean, you've kind of got two choices you could do. You could really kind of generalize the whole thing and paint it fast. And just try to hit like all the big notes on it and kind of, you know, maybe half-ass or kind of just sketch in the rest. And it might look just great. Or you can do what I'm doing and look at every little piece and kind of figure out, okay, what are we dealing with here, right? There will be a little bit of light, though. And I need more blue here, too, because there's going to be skylight. But this looks decent because you also need to look at, like, shadow patterns, right? Like, shadow that comes down, that's going to make it, you know, the hair is right here. It's going to reflect, you know, it's going to prevent some reflection, or this is going to reflect that, or, you know, it could interrupt things. It's keeping everything in mind. Yeah, I think that's what sculptors probably really want to see, right, Eric? That their sculpts really inspire painters. I haven't looked online. I should look on Putty and Paint. I bet there's some good examples of this, but I didn't want to go look before I started painting it because I don't want them to influence me until I'm done. I already had a really strong concept for her, so I'm like, I don't need inspiration. Oh no, we've got a troll. Are you there, Nebula? Yeah. Woohoo! Liquid Nebula with the nebulation. Thank you so much. I'm like, oh no, I must perform and eliminate the troll if Liquid Nebula is not here. But you are. Shout out to Liquid Nebula, the nebulator guys. So that Anne doesn't have to figure out how to do Twitch. Nebulation completed. Awesome. You need that for a ribbon for ReaperCon. If I'm gonna get one that says stretch time, then you should get nebulation completed. Liquid Nebula. There. Just a little bit more light, trying to kind of figure out things. And like I said, often I will make mistakes in this. I will come back in, look at it. What's really good for NMM, actually, guys, and I should point this out, actually, because I was taking photos of this, right? Because I needed to use it in the PDF. One of the best tests to see if your NMM is reading correctly is to take a photo, because it flattens down everything. It flattens out all your layers. And remember that NMM comes from a 2D history, right? All of those like Dutch painters doing it, and then later, much later, comic book artists doing it. Like, so it's really meant to be a flat technique, and we adapt it for the round. So one way to test your NMM is to take a photograph, because that flattens everything out, and it presents to you more like a painting. And then that you may be able to like troubleshoot, or you're going to look at it and go, oh, that looks like metal, in which case you know you're on the right track. Keep going. Hello, Brush for Hire. How's it going? Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've been working on her for a long time. I was just saying that I'm doing a PDF on her for my Patreon, and so like just one of the ways to kind of assess your NMM is to take a picture of it so you can see it flat. So yeah, but yeah, I'm glad you like it. She's gonna take a while. She's gonna take a long while. Oh, hey, it's a Michael Proctor. Hi, Michael. How's it going? I haven't seen you for a while. Shit's coming. I'm fighting my way through this NMM because it's like I need to like put it down, decide it looks bad, fix it, decide it looks okay, come back the next day, decide it looks good. It's just back and forth. She'll be for ReaperCon. Like, if at the very latest, I must have this model done by ReaperCon. That's the goal, guys. At the very latest. Because that'll be the next convention I go to, so she has to be done by then. But I think I am getting close to actually sticking the head on for good, so. Yeah, actually, Brush for Hire, I've noticed that too. That just being able to, when I'm streaming, right, being able to look at my monitor and see the model as my audience sees it, it does help. It really does help. It's really interesting. It's made me consider putting my computer up just to see it when I'm painting at night. But yeah, it is really a thing. Yeah, I've got all sorts of great painters in the chat now. I feel so special. Oh, I guess Reaper Live's going to be up soon, isn't it? So you guys need to remind me, because otherwise, you know, if I get like really into this, I'm going to like totally forget to give you guys to Ed, and then you might miss out on free stuff, and we wouldn't want that. So, futzing around a little bit here, kind of trying to figure out how I want kind of my highlights to come up and spread, and maybe mess around with a little bit. Sometimes I get a little too stylistic with the edges of things, but if I can make it look right, then I don't mind so much. So there is definitely a point where I depart from reality. Usually David's good enough to bring me back down then. He's just like, you know, that doesn't look quite right. And I'm like, but I was having fun. Sometimes it's too much fun and it doesn't look right. Oh, okay, Pendrake. Awesome. You got it? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Because, yeah, otherwise I'd forget to go and raid Reaper until it was way late. But Pendrake has my back. He has all of our backs. Up. Oh, Iffy, thank you! Thank you for the resub! Cool is usually better than reality perfect. I don't know. I like a mix. I guess, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Shh, don't tell David. Actually, I shouldn't say that because David also paints very stylized. But I feel like he's just got a better, like conceptualization of where the light really, really should be. And so sometimes I'll do something that I just think looks cool and he'll call me on it. He wants it to look cool and like feel right as far as the lighting, which yeah, fair. Sometimes I just like to do weird stuff. But cool factor does play a part for sure. And that's why I would say, like, you know, miniature painting is a synthesis of realism and stylism. And the more comfortable you get with it, the more comfortable you ideally get with exercising just the stuff you think looks cool, right? Just going for what looks cool to you and just playing. Like, playing is valid. Let's see here. I do feel like there needs to be pretty strong, and I feel like I do need to bring it up. That's a sharp one though. Probably I need to get to keep the shadow for some of that. We'll see. You know, so back and forth and back and forth and back and forth is the name of the game. But I'll tell you guys, once I'm done with this, I'll be able to do a Sky Earth NMM class. Because I'll have fought my way through all of these little, you know, tiny details and, like, learned what works, what doesn't work. When does it look right? When does it look wrong? I would need to find the right model for it. How about that? That's not quite right. So sometimes put a line down. Like, if you're not sure, put a line down there, put a light or a shadow somewhere, and then look at it and go, yeah, that's not quite right. Then you can just buff it out. And yeah, that's when working with thin paint, you know, helps you a little bit, because it's just real thin layers to, like, sketch it in, take it out, adjust it. Oh, Reaper's hosting Jimmy. That's cool. They can host other people. I won't be jealous. Okay, maybe a little. I'll be fine. I'm not painting a Reaper model today anyway, so. Hey, Ghostman, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. There we go. So we'll get this in. I don't think we'll get a little bit of sky, I think here and here and here. But out here now we're turning. When you've got a metal surface like this and it turns, right? It's originally facing up and then it turns and these plates face more out. So then I have to stop and think, okay, where am I going to start losing that sky color? Because it's going to start fading as it goes toward the horizon. Yes, right? There isn't a good concrete moment, right? Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Brush. And sometimes I'm just futzing. Like, just putzing with it. Because sometimes when I putz, I come out with something that looks good. And I'm like, all right, yay for putzing around. But yeah, and that's true. Like, because there will definitely be a point where I'm just throwing color in because it makes sense to me. Like, it's like, okay, I need this touch of color here. It's like putting this shadow right here. It doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but it's necessary. And it's like, I was showing people pictures of swords on a wall earlier that kind of showed you that, you know, that from the highlight to the shadow to the highlight, kind of that wave effect, because it's reflecting objects in the environment that you aren't depicting on the model. It's a bust, but you can suggest that still because of your reflections, because you're dealing with that. Yeah, the let's just see what happens here moments, exactly. I do a lot of that. Oh, yeah. That's okay. Jimmy's cool. I hope that Jimmy and his wife can make it over to ReaperCon sometime. I like him. So actually, I'm gonna double down on that and darken this just a little bit. And I'm gonna bring it down because we know there are pretty dark shadows underneath these wings because we used a small light to see where our shadows were strong. And I do think I need to darken down a little bit on the bottom here, and I need to bring in less blue and more white as we go down and as that wing tilts. But yeah, I was telling him, Brush, that, you know, even though I've been painting NMM for years now, years and years and years and years and years, I still, like, when there's a complex surface like this, I still have to work it out. Like, I still have to work it out bit by bit. I still make mistakes. I still have to go back and assess. I still have to, you know, say, oh, I screwed up the highlight. You know, it's all a learning process. So nobody should feel bad if they don't get it right the first time. That was a blorf. Yeah, experience trumps talent any day. in my opinion. Like, okay, maybe if you've got really good, like, color sense like I do, or light sense like my boyfriend does, or, you know, like you've got 3D, like compositional skills, like, you know, Derek is a sculptor, so DKS in the chat, and, you know, you've got a leg up maybe, but it's, after that, it's all work. It's all work. Like, I've had to fight to understand NMM because thinking about how light moves doesn't come naturally to me. So, hey there, Angry Ham. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hi, Rax. I'm glad you managed to sneak in. Yeah, we're working. I'm adjusting. I blued too much. I blued too much, she says. She doth blue too much. But yeah, and I haven't even put in, like, colored reflections yet on this sucker. Just because I know I screw up. Like, I know that I'm going to need to adjust it. So I don't want to, like, add in a bunch of complicated green and stuff until I feel like I've nailed, like, where I am. Then I'll start throwing colors in. But yeah, so never feel bad, guys. If it's taking you a while to figure out NMM, that's okay. All of us have had to, like, work for it, right? There we go. So I like that better. Now it's still blue. It's the camera's picking it up a little bit too. It's making it look really light, but that is still blue. Oh, good, Brush. I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, I start with a very basic. I honestly start with my, like, just shadow midtone highlight. I've got my blue in now because I wanted to work on some sky tilted stuff. But I tend to do it all monochrome to start with. And then once I can look at it in monochrome and say, okay, my light is right, then I'll start turning colors in. And, you know, I know other people who are able to just work the color in, like, just off the bat. Just they work it all. And I'm just like, I hate you all. I have to go slow. Especially with a complicated piece. And I'm still not happy with the wave here. And I'm like, but I know there are parts of this that I'm screwing up, and so I'll have to come back and adjust it. But I don't mind the blue in there for now. I liked this a little better before. I think my white got down a little bit too much. And also I have to ask myself how sharp my highlights are going to stay. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Though technically I'm the only artist you watch, Rex. 3-day holiday, that's nice, I wish. Hello, GM. How's it going? Thanks for the follow. Oh, I'm your favorite? Awesome. Oh, and Margaret with the resub, thank you so much. On the road to Tiamat. Are you painting your Tiamat yet? Or did you, I forget, Margaret, did you finish your Maldrakar? Wasn't that your Odyssey, like, thing? Or did you have a different Tiamat? Because I have cowered it out of my Maldrakar for now. I think a giant dragon would break me. Although I was very tempted. Man, I need to not go on Etsy. Because some of the 3D prints out there, some of the dragons are just freaking gorgeous. And I'm like, alright, I need to, like, not even know that this exists. It's like the end goal. Started her, but yeah, she's your end goal. Got it. 3 minutes to Reaper Live. Etsy is your problem. Well, I just ordered the Knoll. The beautiful, beautiful Knoll bust. This lady. The Knoll Shaman. She's so cool. I can't wait to start her either. But that's why I have to work on these other things and finish them so I can start a new project. I really can't have more than 3 projects. Yeah, I really love the Knoll. I love Knolls, and she's just such a good hyena sculpt. She's so good. So I gave in on that one, but I've got to just not Etsy. Because there's a black dragon out there that I'm just like, ooh. And I'm like, no. Yeah, Brush. Oh, nice. Maldrakar did almost kill you. I believe it. Yeah, and then, Wapple probably just whipped his out in, 2 days. He's done. Yeah, I've got my Mal in the closet. It's gonna stay in the closet for now. Oh, nice. Vampire Dragon versus Werewolf Dragon off Etsy. I don't even want to know. I'm not going to Etsy. I will not look. it's as bad as a it's an always running Kickstarter over there. No, I must resist. All right, so I guess I should like say something meaningful and then shovel you over to Reaper in 2 minutes. Oh yeah, yep. Not professionals soon. Shall we jump over before they actually start so you guys don't miss any like shenanigans right at the beginning? Thank you for the follow, Nissa. I really appreciate it. We're just like kind of wrapping up. I was about to push everybody over to Reaper Live so that they could all watch the owners be silly at each other and maybe have some Kickstarter updates and some ReaperCon updates, hopefully. Oh, I see. Her husband's site, right. All right, cool, guys. Well, thank you. Thank you for sitting through my my going on and on about NMM. And this actually, I think, was a pretty good educational stream, so I'll probably pop this one up for posterity on the YouTube. I don't do every stream over... I don't shove every stream over to YouTube, but I think this one is actually a pretty good one. As far as, like, kind of outlining some of the ways you'd want to think about NMM. So... Yes, hugs. Missed classes, exactly. Yep. They're not up yet? All right, this could be like a false alarm, right? So if anybody has any other questions, like specific questions about NMM in the chat, go for it. Go for it. Like we've got as long as it takes Ed to actually show up. Oh, yummy. Yeah, we had fish curry the other night. Yum. Have a good night, Dogfather. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow then, Rex. Thanks for coming on, everybody. The day is better for your existence. And I like kicking back and just painting on my personal project. I really do like working on the big stuff. DVD GE. Thank you for the follow. We're just wrapping it up. We're about to go over to Reaper Miniatures Twitch because they've got their Kickstarter and ReaperCon updates and all that kind of thing. So, but thank you for the follow very much. So this whole one was about, the VOD will be up on Twitch, but this whole episode was about non-metallic metal and with a little bit about Sky Earth NMM like I'm doing on the Templar here. So yeah, you'll be able to watch the VOD after I kick you all over. Hey, Original, how's it going? You are welcome. You are all welcome. Thank you for coming over. I really do appreciate it. It helps me. I've gotten to the point where I do like to kind of like chat with you guys while I paint. It's kind of like Paint Club. I miss Paint Club. I can't wait till I can have a paint club again. Like that's like soon, right? Like Reaper soon. Are we up? Is Reaper actually live? Here, I'll queue up the raid anyway in the chat here so that we can. Still Jimmy? All right. Well, at least I've got it where I can hit the enter button. I guess I will actually do a little bit of adjustment on this then. Since Reaper, the minute I pick up my brush and get into something complicated, Ed's gonna hit the go button. Yep! Alright, well it's failsafe. Just pick up the model, pick up your brush, get ready. There we go, Reaper Live. Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It was a fantastic session. I think it was fun. And I'll see you guys on Reaper tomorrow. It's Sphinx Day. Maybe I'll finish the base. I should get close. I need to really hit the highlights and shadows hard on Sphinx. And then we can do some of the faded paint kind of thing. I need to look at some Egyptian references for that. But yeah, all right, so let's queue it up. Queue up the Reaper raid so you guys can go over and get free stuff and hear ReaperCon news and Kickstarter news. But yeah, thanks. It's good to see you, Michael and Derek and everybody that comes with Brush for Hire. It's good to see you as well. Every time I see people I don't see very often, I really appreciate that you came in to say hi. Alrighty, let's hit the raid button, and I think we're... Wait. I have to get my little end screen. Wait, we'll be not professional, we'll be almost professional. # almost professional. Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you tomorrow.